ages, and hay was there. But this is 30 years later. The doctor, he writes, he said,
yeah, let's do that. Push as hard as you can. When you go over, tell us how it is.
Nothing for granted.
So we're back to the closest to Lincoln's death.
It used to be called the Rebels.
Right, the very next day, the Stan said,
Which way are we going to look?
then asked
No,
yourself,
they're still called the Rebels. Well, they don't have
religious
the Rebels
context
after
of the mid-19th century. Are you going to say angel? You're going to say angels every time.
But this is
I think it's angels. But then you got to say, if you'd asked Stanton 5 years later,
thought that you were dangerous.
I don't care what you said, what you should have said. He'd probably say, yeah, I should have said angels.
Yeah, mine is a terrible thing to waste. Well, do you know?
Look how the trees have blossomed out in 4 days.
That's north.
Yeah. I hate to play that. That's just hard to reach that. Like playing on the
Yeah.
I like that.
Texas.
Exactly.
High school in Texas.
To move just a little bit closer.
You know,
Now we're going to go to Shies Hill. Shies Hill would be that big hill straight at 12 o'clock. See that big hill right in front of me? That's Shies Hill. And then, of course, you have the stone wall in the middle, and then Peach Orchard Hill here. Once again, who's holding this? SD Lee's Corps. On this hill is Clayton's Division, Stovall's Georgia Brigade, Holtzclaw's Alabama Brigade moving down to that pike, and Gibson's Louisiana Brigade across the Franklin Pike. SD Lee's Corps. Next to SD Lee would be Pettus, Alabama Brigade, and Cummins, Georgia Brigade. That's Stevenson's Division, SD Lee's Corps. And then to the left of that would be Johnson's Division. Then we get up to the middle, which is Stewart's Corps, the stone wall, and then Shies Hill, Cheatham's to the left. So that's Shies Hill, and then Peach Orchard Hill, that shorter line. You know how much we drove from the Redoubts to these? Now it's a 3-mile line here. This was supposed to be, once again, just a feint, and then pow with that right at Shies Hill. But T.J. Wood thought there were opportunities post perform recon and thought they could take it. And of course Stedman's division, the USCTs are coming up, and who would be engaged today? I cannot remember. Hold on. Be Thompson's brigade of the USCTs, and that's going to be the 100th USCTs, 12th and 13th USCTs, United States Colored Troops. Now with Confederate guns up here and cavalry, there's some 9th, I forget but Confederate cavalry is guarding their flanks over there. And that railroad track, the L&N, was still there back then. It was Eufaula's Alabama battery right over there, and Stanford's Mississippi battery on top of this hill here. So it was oh Lord have mercy. It was about 11 o'clock this started. I stand to be corrected. But they thought they could take it, and of course Thomas said, if you can, take it. Do it, if you can. Although it's still going to come over to the right. So, Straight's Brigade and Sidney Post Brigade started attacking down this middle area we drove on, Federals, and the 100th USCTs was attacking down there. There was a thicket down there, and they were moving around the thicket. This artillery opened up on them, and whole lines are going down, whole waves are going down, and like veterans, and this was really their first engagement, really, to speak of, they closed ranks and they keep on moving, and the 100th USCTs planted flags, and on 6 color bearers went down and planted a flag on top of this line where the Confederates were and was shot down. Hold on. And the 12th USCTs move around to their left, our left, or their right, and start hitting the works in this area and shot to pieces and fall back. Straits and Post Brigades being shot to hell down there. Sidney Post took a grape shot in this hip area, thought it was mortal, but he would live. And they're just, this hill's becoming blue with casualties. And then what happens? The 13th USCTs would move out. They swing around to my left and then coming down and hit right down there. And even the whites can't believe it because they're being slaughtered. And they're coming through the smoke. It seemed, I can't remember the exact numbers, but the 13th USCTs would get up there with a flag and plant them, and they were shot down. 3 others were shot down. Holtz, they were bringing some of Lowry's and Govan's brigade over here to the center, and they were blasting them in that center as well. And they elicited the praise of the Confederate General Holtzclaws. He put in his official report that they only came to die. And those 13th USCT regimental colors were captured, but they lost 440 men in that one regiment alone, the 13th USCTs. I cannot remember how many officers, but a great deal of officers, and shot to pieces. Their highest casualties of the Federal Army is on this hill here. And once again, this great view. I wish I could point. We saw the flag from Fort Negley when it's flying, that big flag there. So it's straight on Fort Negley. I can't quite point it out, but see where those big buildings are that was covering the Capitol? It's about right through there. It's Fort Negley as well. And so this is Holden Wells. A tactical situation. Hood was worried about his right. He kept on sending reinforcements over here. Lowry's brigade was near Shaw's Hill, and Govan's brigade was over there. He sent them over here. And then what other units were sent over here? I can't remember right now. But Lee didn't need them. He didn't request them. He did not request them. And he kept on weakening the left. Shaw's Hill kept on weakening and bringing the line down. Sent Ectors. That night of the 15th, Ectors was on top of Shaw's Hill. And he said, Texans, I expect you to hold this hill no matter what transpires around you. And then he sent Ectors away toward Brentwood. He sent the wagon trains toward Brentwood. And S.D. Lee is receiving reinforcements here that he did not need and didn't request it, holding it well. This has been raped by federal artillery, by the way. Throat's going. And I know I was with a boy in 1964 on December 16th. 2 older boys. They were about 15, and I was about 8. They let me tag along with them, close to 9. And we found Hotchkiss shells on the anniversary of the battle. And that same boy, when we were old men in 82, well, younger old men, but we found another cannonball on December 16th by the stone wall on 1982, I believe it was. He says it's real weird every time, you really find stuff on that day. And I found a lot of stuff on that day when I go out to hunt in the years in the past. So they said this hill was covered with blue. Traveler's Rest is, Traveler's Rest is right over down there, that way, right down that way. That was the Hood's headquarters. We'll drive. We're running out of time, but we're still going to drive by it somehow.
Is this Peach Orchard Hill?
Yes, this is Peach Orchard Hill. We'll be right there. Yeah. They said this hill was covered with blue, just covered with blue. And everything's fine here. And then we're going to go to Shaw's Hill, where at 4:15 it was crushed. And it started this domino effect. The last command to leave this hill, the descendants tell me this, was the 42nd Georgia. The last to leave this hill. And as Shaw's Hill starts to collapse, they're moving this way, the Federals, and Pettis and Cummings were starting to go to pieces. And S.D. Lee rode across that pike and grabbed a flag and waved it. This is where brave men should die, and rallied them. And this drummer boy was beating that long road. And Lee told him to stay right by him. He thought he was going to be killed. He's an Alabamian. And I can't remember his name. It's an odd name. Just beating that long road, my friend has found a bugle spout up here. He thinks the one to call the retreat out of here. But showing up that line across the street a little ways, and while they're trying to fall back toward that church and form the hollow square down there, and then moved on down this Franklin Pike as the Confederates were retreating down the Granny White Pike. I'm getting well ahead of myself. But this held very, very well. Needed no reinforcements for the fourth time, but Hood was so worried about his right when the big push was coming on the left, Confederate left over there, just like it did the day before. So Hood blew it on that tactical deployment of troops as well. Blew it. They couldn't have held. You know what's going to happen sooner or later, but it made it a lot quicker by Hood transferring troops over here that they needed so much over there. And there were no reinforcements to be pulled over there. And they're taking them away like that. Reynolds Arkansans were pulled out and sent over here as well. I want to show you this. I know it might not seem like a big deal, but a perfect view. And that's where you're going to see it down there as well. This ball field is covering things up a little bit now, but nonetheless.
Tom,
Okay, yes, sir.
wasn't Hood seemed to be fixated because he thought initially that Thomas would attack his right because he would protect Murfreesboro.
That's what he thought, but he was
Turned out to be
on that.
wrong, but,
Yeah, no, that's what he thought. Yeah. Okay,
Let me ask you again, which one of those is
The record 12. Yes.
Just to the left of the
Yes. That's where we're going to go to. Drive up the stone wall. This is this. Yeah. Or see, I kind of make 15 maps for each person for Nashville. But here we are, standing about right there, and there's Stanford, Mississippi batteries. You follow the Alabama battery. There's the Franklin Road. That's where Gibson's was, just down there, and Holtzcloth's, blah blah blah. And this is where the
train came through there even back then.
and this is where the Rosencrantz Command over here attacking too. But the 12th hit here, 100th were hit here, which is right over there. That 13th went pow right down there, which is by that intersection.
Okay.
We're not at 2 yet.
That Forest Crossing was a biggie.
Double for uphill?
I guess we can't, so I'm sorry. They used to have a road through there. Forest Crossing was a biggie that we got in and out real quick. And where else? Other places.
Was that yesterday?
Yes, sir.
Nice homes and stuff?
We're going to bypass Traveler's Rest. And I want to take you down this battle line. It will change from Harding Place to Battery Lane. That's for the federal batteries. That would be approximately, 400 yards to our north, firing on the stone wall and firing on this area. Tons of artillery shells have been found since the 1950s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. You wouldn't believe how many artillery shells have been found out here. I know just 5 people alone. Let's see. 30, 60, 90, 100. Just 5 people alone I know have found about 120 shells alone,
They have a rich daddy.
including
They'll
myself.
tolerate anything. But there's also a quality faculty for those who want it.
Yeah.
One of the ladies on the bus, from what Doug's been handing out, there was a letter found in a Confederate hand, 14th Mississippi, that's Adams Brigade. If he's killed on the second day, I know where he's killed. But that's from a lady that hadn't received any letters from him, and pretty much having the last word. This dead Confederate's holding this letter, I think, and how that I have not received any letters from you, so consider this finished. I'm paraphrasing, and I will always care for you, but I will not love you now. I wish you well, and you'll be in my prayers as a friend, but not a lover. And how can he write a lot of letters when he's going through what he's going through? No offense to the ladies, but hell hath no fury as a woman scorned. That's what Shakespeare wrote. Don't blame me for saying that. That's what Shakespeare wrote.
Man, magazine wrote, hell hath no fury like a woman sperm.
We're gonna, we obviously take a right, and then we'll take a right and left down that battery lane. I saved a boy about 20 years ago, just hell on earth for really the rest of his life. He had been married 6 months. Here comes Valentine's Day. His new bride told him she didn't want anything for Valentine's Day. Don't give me anything.